I'm Jonathan Knight. It's 22nd of January 2018. I'm here at Derby and I'm talking to
Chris Sheldon.
Right. Hi Chris, thanks for coming in. You're a cricket volunteer, but I'd like to start off with your beginnings of an interest in cricket. If you could tell us a bit about that, please.
Oh, the background starts in the late 70s, early 80s, when my father started playing club cricket for Allestree Cricket Club. I was tagging along as a youngster, started to get involved in the junior scene, and progressed luckily to the odd occasion where I was asked to play for the second team. Never any good. I was never a batsman, I was never a bowler, but I was always very good in the field, and I think that's how I got to be playing in the second team. But sooner or later they decided I was never going to be a decent player, and my father, being a first team cricketer, was spending more and more time playing away on Saturdays and Sundays. Luckily for me, during one of the games I was attending, the scorer decided he was going to retire after the following game. So, showing an interest in cricket, I volunteered my services to be the scorer. From that, funny enough, my mother, being on the scene as well, got involved in making, or assisting making, the club tees. So then it became a family day out. My father playing cricket for Allestree, myself scoring, and my mother doing the tees. I did that for around about 8 or 9 years before other sporting activities came on the scene, my father retiring from cricket for one of them. So that would be my background to the cricket. I've always wanted to play cricket, never been good enough to play it, but love the sport, love watching it.
You say you've loved watching cricket. Which teams, apart from local teams, did you follow a particular county or?
I've always followed Derbyshire Cricket Club, my home club. On the amateur circuit, I have to congratulate my sister. My sister started dating a player from Alveston Bolton Cricket Club. So my involvement with Alveston Bolton was from there. I started watching her boyfriend, her fiance, who's now her husband. He played for Alveston Bolton for a number of years on their cup campaigns and their league campaigns. He then moved to Ockbrook and Borrowash, then had a spell at Swarkston Cricket Club, and then moved back to Ockbrook and Borrowash, where he finally decided to hang his bat up and retire. So I've generally followed him around the amateur circuit in club cricket, and found it very, very helpful, enjoyed every minute of it. It's taken me to parts of England following him. It's a wonderful experience.
That's good. Well, thanks for that, just giving us a brief overview of your background. We'll now get to the meat of why we're interviewing you, and that's because you volunteer with the ECB, and which has now become, from last Women's World Cup, the Cricketeers.
Yes.
And how did you get into that?
A long and interesting story. Whilst I was following my brother-in-law, who it is now, around the cricket circuit, I was showing a big interest in cricket and wanted to try and get involved in cricket in some kind of capacity. So I wrote a general letter to the ECB asking them if they had any job opportunities, either on a national level or at a local level, helping out at Derbyshire Cricket Club. They replied back, however, thank you very much, however at the time, nothing. But for yourself, a way forward may be getting involved in a volunteer side of club cricket. We will keep your name on file. From that, I received a letter asking me to volunteer in the 2020 World Cup, which was about 2009.
Yeah.
And the ground closest to us that was being used was Trent Bridge. So I was asked to come along to Derbyshire Cricket Club for an interview with the ECB regional coordinator, and was successful in being taken on as a volunteer to assist in the media department at Trent Bridge during the T20 World Cup.
So sorry to interrupt. You said you were helping out in the media section. What experience did you have experience, or was it trained? Sorry, excuse me. Were you trained for that, or?
We didn't receive actually any training for our role within the media centre, but my background from my work outside of cricket, I'm trained in the media for talking for the local radio and the local television. But our general role in the media was looking after the world's journalists, looking after the world's press, and getting them on our side and getting them to trust ourselves, to enable them to enjoy and carry out their activities to the best of their ability. So if we were looking after the photographers around the ground, we had to make sure that they were plenty of water, did they have enough to eat. The world's journalists, did they have enough water, did they want anything to eat, if they wanted something fetching from the printer, or did they want something photocopying, then we did that. But we had to gain their trust, which we did over a period of time. And
I assume your role also involved involvement with the teams. What sort of activities did you do with them?
Well, that was another side to it. As well as working in the media centre, prior to the games taking place, a number of us were asked to meet the team's coach and take their kit from the coaches to the dressing rooms. Now, some people may think, well, that's quite easy, just taking the kit from the coach to the dressing room. But some of the professional players, their kit bags are extremely heavy. And then some players wanted their kit bags in a certain area of the dressing room. South Africa in particular were very, very particular where they wanted their kit bags. It had to be exactly where the drawing, and each dressing room had a layout of each player where they wanted their kit bag. And woe betide you if that kit bag was half a yard away from where they actually wanted it. Other teams were not so particular. New Zealand, for instance, they just wanted their kit bag placing in the middle of the dressing room, and then they would decide where they would sit.
On the sense of, you say South Africa were particularly picky, I'm not expecting players' names, but were there any tantrums, or if their kit wasn't in there?
Yes, I personally vouch for that. I was on the receiving end of a telling off. That you would probably think it was a telling off. It was a heated discussion. I wasn't taking part. I was just listening. But the gentleman decided that his kit bag was facing the wrong way, and it wasn't exactly where he wanted it. And he made it perfectly clear to me that should we play here again and you carry my bag, this is where I want it. Do not leave it here.
Yeah. And this was for the duration of
that was for the duration of the tournament.
Yeah.
Yes.
So from warm-up games to
warm-up games to what they held with the first semi-final at Trembridge.
Yeah. All right. That's very interesting for the first part. If we can go on to the 2017 Champions Trophy and Women's World Cup. If we deal with the Champions Trophy first, as the Women's World Cup was held at Derby,
yes.
where you were a Derbyshire member, and it must have been a great honour. But if we can deal with the Champions Trophy, if you could just, were you doing the same thing again, or was that?
Purely, again, from the contact from the ECB, they contacted the regional coordinators because it was run through the ICC, and asked, do they know any volunteers who could help out. We was asked to go along to Edgbaston Cricket Club, so Edgbaston Cricket Ground, for a brief interview and to meet with the media manager and representatives from the ICC. We were taken on and we were given warm-up games and the whole of the tournament at Edgbaston. And our role in the media there was very similar to the role that we held at the T20 at Trent Bridge, but on a grander, on a bigger scale. We had a lot more of the world's media, had a lot more of the British media, and photographers galore. And again, it was building the photographers and the journalists' trust to enable them to carry out their roles. And we were there just as a runner, basically, for the journalists, but also making sure the photographers around the ground had got everything they needed. So if there was ever a photographer who required a piece of equipment from the photographer's hut or from their vehicle, we had to gain their trust to go and get it for them, so they didn't miss any of the action.
Was that difficult, or were a lot of them used to that sort of experience? Or
some of the photographers weren't used to it, and we had to gain their trust to say to them, "You're here to capture the photos, and if you're not here and something happens, you miss that moment, you could kick yourself and you're going to be angry with yourself. So enable us to go to the photographer's hut, get your equipment if you've forgot anything or if you need anything." So they eventually, after the warm-up games and the first couple of games, they were fine. We got their trust, and we were doing more and more fetching of their equipment. The world's press, they were fine. They were fine. They were used to it at other tournaments, so they were just asking us to take something to the printer or take something to the photocopier, or can we get them a bite to eat, or can we get them a drink. They were fine.
Yeah. So you would have generated quite a rapport with certain
Yes.
certain commentator press.
Yes.
Were there any particular other media that stood out, or that you got to know very well? Or
strangely enough, I got on very well. I suppose it's been in the wrong place at the right time, but I got on very well with Derek Pringle. Derek Pringle and I seemed to build a rapport straight away, and I think it stems from him asking me to go and print something off for him and take it to the photocopier and run half a dozen copies off for him. And I just think it was the quickness of me doing that enabled him to carry on doing his work. And ever since that particular day, we always said hello to each other, went out of our way to say hi, good morning. But generally, the world's press generally got on well with everybody. The ESPN team, Cricket Info, they were very happy. They were more than helpful in asking you to do certain things for them. But out of all of them, I say just that one moment with Derek Pringle, we just seemed to get on very well.
Yeah, well, that's lovely. I should have raised this first of all with your volunteering. Why did you do it? I mean, what triggered you wanting to do this, volunteer for the?
It was purely putting something back into cricket that I've always wanted to do. Cricket, for me, cricket is one of my top 3 sports. I was never good enough to play cricket. I was only as far as scoring, but I wanted to put something back into cricket, especially my club cricket. Put it back in there, that to give something back that I was never able to do in the first place.
Yeah. So it was a labour of love, really.
It certainly was a labour of love. Yes.
Yes, that's lovely. Right, I think we'll end this section of the interview, and we'll deal with your time with the Women's World Cup in the next part.
Certainly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.